going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Elevated Energy Podcast, your number one source for all the information on raising your vibration with clean energy. As always, I'm your host, Richard Klein, and today with me is somebody special that you guys haven't had the chance to meet yet. Her name is Alki. She's a very prominent member of our marketing team. How are you doing today, Alki?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. So I just kind of wanted to start at the beginning, kind of like get a little background on you, like where you're from, like who is Alki essentially, you know?
Yeah, well, I reside in the Pacific Northwest. I really like this area. There's lots of trees. The
For sure.
weather is nice. It did get down to -7 a couple weeks ago, but
That's
that's
cold.
pretty much as bad as it gets.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm a shadow worker, so I help people identify their triggers and move past them and embrace them, transmute them so that they can grow as a person.
Well, that's awesome.
And yeah, I'm really into longevity. Not necessarily just focusing on living longer, but living a higher quality life.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said shadow work. Like what is that specifically? I know a little bit about what it is, but I'm not super versed.
Well, everyone has shadows, and a lot of people choose to ignore them. For instance, if they see something and it triggers something that they need to change in their life to make their health better, for instance,
Right.
they'll push it aside. When really that's exactly what they should be digging deep into so they can unlock the good things about themselves. And who knows, they could build something amazing for humanity if they just changed one thing about their life that they're avoiding.
Right. And yeah, I would say, especially in today's society, there is a lot of avoidance. You know what I'm saying? Like people don't necessarily want to deal with the nitty gritties. I mean, everybody's got trauma these days. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's got mommy, daddy issues, you name it. You know what I'm saying? But so you basically help people like identify what their triggers are and help them try to like learn better coping mechanisms to say.
Yeah, because it's like when you're triggered and your shadow self feels a certain way, that contains often like a certain ability or an idea that will make you that much happier in the long run. And instead of like just being in the same cycle where you're avoiding something that the universe is trying to tell you, "Hey, look over here, react differently to this,
Right.
think about this, maybe you should be looking at your feelings about this instead of it analytically."
Okay, so basically what you help people do is like to try and figure out ways to like move beyond their trauma, which I think is awesome. I guess like that's probably what helps you move into like renewable energy and stuff like that. You were trying to help people like level up and get to that next thing.
Yeah, especially since it's not just trauma. It's more like
Okay.
habitual patterns. People just
Okay.
stay in this safety space and they're kind of going in this repetitive circle that's leading them to death.
Right. Almost like whenever
And
people stay in a dead end job that they know that they shouldn't fucking be in, you know what I'm saying? But something that fear of like what happens if I can't find another job keeps them from doing it type deal, right?
yeah, definitely. And solar is one of those things that is a positive change that you can make that affects the world in a positive way
Right.
and gets you out of that cycle of like depending on other people for your basic needs.
Right. Yeah, it kind of gives you that like first step towards independence in a way, you know what I'm saying? You're no longer subject to rate hikes from like your utility monopoly that is in your area.
Yeah.
It gives you a choice, you know what I'm saying? Like the power of being able to take and choose where you're spending your money as opposed to just being like, well, this is what was set up when I got here, so I guess I'll just stick with that, right?
Yeah, and it really affects your subconscious in a positive way. You get a special kind of confidence when you can be self-sufficient in all kinds of ways, whether it's your power, whether it's growing your own food, whether it's starting your own business. All those give you a certain sense of inner confidence that really just like propels you forward in extra ways that, society doesn't really look at a lot of the time.
100%. Yeah. I feel like the more we take our own power into our own hands, you know what I'm saying? I feel like the more we feel like we are able to, you know what I'm saying? But it's that first step of like, well, instead of doing this way, like this person said, maybe I should just do it this way because I feel like that would be better for me type thing. And then small decisions like that can kind of like explode into your life. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're like a whole new confident person. And like, I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, and it's
So
a lot of responsibility to have that much power, which is why it's really important important to do your shadow work first. And oftentimes, karmatically, the universe won't allow you to gain that power until you do the inner shadow work.
Yeah, I don't know if this could just be coincidence, but like I actually experienced like small instances of this in my life. I say all the time, like my fiance knows especially, and a lot of my friends know as well. I constantly say I'm not allowed to have an ego because 9 times out of 10, if I start speaking about something that I'm good at doing or something that I normally do well, from a place of confidence, I will almost every single time immediately fuck it up. Be like, oh yeah, I'm super good at balancing, immediately falls. I'm super good at cooking, immediately burns myself. You know what I'm saying? And so like I see the truth of the statement of karmatically, like it won't let you have that power until you necessarily earn it. You know what I'm saying? And like I feel like it's
Yeah.
a lot of it has to do with whether or not I'm talking about being confident in something just because I'm genuinely confident in it, or if I'm trying to talk about something confidently just as like a kind of like a flex, you know what I'm saying? Just to like come off cool. And I feel like most of the time, whenever I'm like in that mode of like trying to impress somebody, like if it's somebody new or something like that, those are the times that I will immediately fuck up afterwards and shit because I was trying to show off.
Yeah, and that's why it's really important to have like a healthy nervous system too, because to stay in your zone, you really have to have a healthy nervous system. And that ties into the whole longevity kick that I do. Improving your quality of life is a lot of things that affect your nervous system are actually coming from things that our ancestors didn't have, like
Okay.
pesticides, for instance, and all these devices that are giving off these magnetic fields and, oh, the special word, EMFs, right?
Right.
So, yeah, like we are dealing with a lot more than our ancestors did. Like our ancestors used to eat 20 pounds of butter a year,
Right.
and we're only eating 7. And, fat is one of the things that's best for your brain.
Yeah, I've
And
heard
the
that
brain
lipids and
is a
stuff.
big part of your nervous system.
For sure, it's kind of like the powerhouse control and everything, right? And so, like, that is very accurate. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're constantly bombarded with like genetically modified foods, electromagnetic frequencies like 4 and 5G. Like, even sitting in my house right now, I'm currently being blasted with radiation from my Wi-Fi router. You know what I'm saying? And so we haven't seen the long term effects of a lot of these things, and I would wager that they're probably not the best.
That's why it's really good to actually wire in your
Yeah, my
computer,
PC is hardwired.
and you can also wire in your phone. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I did not actually.
Yeah, yeah, you can get a converter for any type of phone and wire your phone right into your router.
Nice. So,
Yep.
speaking of that, so that's kind of more on like safeguarding yourself from the electromagnetic frequencies and whatnot. Do you have any other suggestions on how people can do something like that?
Yeah, I do. It is different per area and per house.
Okay.
But there are some things that everyone could do. But you do want to have like a professional come out to your house. A really good professional is actually Brian Hoyer. He will come to your house and assess all of it and show you like exactly what to do for your specific situation.
Okay.
Um, but some things that you can do in the meantime before having a professional come out would be there's lots of different choices. You can either protect your whole body, which you can wear a frequency patch that increases the copper peptide in your body, and that provides protection as well as activating stem cells. Also, it's really good to like mitigate the dirty electricity.
What do you mean by dirty
So
electricity?
so all the power that's going behind the walls, I know you can't see it,
Right.
but it's radiating out stuff that is lowering your quality of life, let's say.
Right. And so that would just
Um,
be like lower electromagnetic frequencies
it's
than what the human body operates at, kind of deal.
so yeah, it's just unnecessary noise and stress that your body is dealing with.
Okay.
And so there are filters. I happen to use green wave filters. And
What does that do?
so it lessens the dirty electricity by a good amount. That way your body can relax. Especially you don't want to be like having your bed like by an outlet.
Right. I know I'm guilty of that just because I need
Yeah.
my phone charger to be close at hand.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing is charging your phone. You want to try to charge it in a different room if you can.
Okay, heard. Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I don't
And
leave
I
mine
know
next
it's
to my
it's
head
hard.
anymore, but
because all this stuff is invisible. You're like, "What, is this really hurting me?" But if you do
Right.
get, like a tri-field meter,
Yeah.
and when you hear that thing going off as you get closer to all these things, you're like, "Oh, shit."
Yeah. You're like,
You
dang, there
know?
might actually be something going on here.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, that's for like the electricity in your home. But as far as like mitigating like the cell phone towers and like your smart TV and stuff like that, there's a different couple ways. I use a blue shield device, which basically drowns it out so that you're not getting this like repetitive signal that's just the same.
Yeah.
It puts out the signal of actually the natural forest.
Oh, nice. And
Yeah.
so that's like it kind of like mutes the, I guess, the frequency, so they kind of like cancel each other out kind of deal, or does it kind of
Yeah, if
like
you kind of think
canvas
about like
over it?
there's a song, right? And like say you take a sample and it's going over and over and over again, and you're like,
Right.
okay, that's repetitive, but then you put a beat to it and it's super cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it works. Yeah.
Dubstep in a
Yeah.
nutshell, man.
Yeah. Yeah, also I like to wear silver clothing. It is good to have like a layer between yourself and the silver. It's the way it works best. You can also like sleep grounded. You can and
I've heard
also
about
plug
that,
the
running
clothing.
like copper wire from like outside like to your bed, and that'll kind of like ground your bed. Is that what you're talking about?
Um, I'm talking more like you have like a EMF protective blanket to plug it into your grounding outlet is
Okay.
a really good way. You can do it into the ground too, but honestly, I've listened to several professionals and you really need to weigh out the information, right? Because some people are profiting off of a certain thing and other people are really digging deep to get the real
Right.
information. And what I've come to the conclusion of is that it's better to plug it into the wall.
Right. Yeah, no, see, I think we might have been thinking about it for like different reasons. The one that I was thinking was more of like a better sleep and back pain kind of thing. Is just like, people have the cliche these days of saying go outside and touch grass is like a way to like make fun of gamers. But like, so you really should every day like go outside, preferably barefoot. You know what I'm saying, and just kind of like touch the earth. You know what I'm saying, just to kind of ground yourself and your energy with the earth and whatnot. And so I've heard of other ways of doing that. You can actually get similar effects while you sleep if you run a copper wire from the ground outside and attach it to your bed somewhere. And that'll kind of like give you the similar effects of grounding yourself out naturally while you sleep. It can help you wake up feeling more refreshed, have better dreams. So,
Yeah, you definitely want it attached to a silver lined blanket that is over you,
yeah.
like,
Heard.
like between you and the main source of the EMFs.
Right. And so, whenever you're talking about like silver line clothing or silver line blankets, like, where would somebody find something like that?
I like a couple different companies. I really like Radius Smart.
Okay.
Um, they don't have grounding, but you don't necessarily need grounding. It's just like an extra enhancement. And then No Choice Clothing provides grounding,
Okay.
and I
Huh.
really like them. Yeah. So those are the two that I use. And then there's other things you can do, like quantum upgrade. It like
What is that?
quantumly beams of frequency to you or your house. They actually they don't have a lot of concrete facts on it. People kind of just try it and they're like, I'm feeling better and I don't know why, but let's go with it.
Right.
And that's not something that everyone wants to do. There's a lot of people that want concrete facts. I tend to like to experiment. I'm like, I'll see.
Right.
I'll see how it is. But also I also like concrete facts and
Yeah, I was
studies and
about to
everything
say
like
I'm
that too.
I'm a pretty darn analytical person in my nature, and so I do like to see like some like numbers of stuff and whatnot. But I also try to keep at least at least keep an open mind about different things. So like I'm always willing to try something out. You know what I'm saying? And
I'm open to it because I actually really do like scalar technology.
mhm.
And, I'll notice little things about it, like if I'm beaming out a certain frequency, I'll notice certain things manifesting in the algorithm
Right.
or, certain thoughts popping up in my head. And it's like that stuff is really hard to study. Like, is there really a study of, oh, this comes up in my algorithm when I'm projecting out this scalar frequency? Like,
I
no,
mean,
that's
there
not being
probably
studied.
is. There's like FBI and CIA documented studies of people moving things telekinetically, reading each other's minds, as well as projecting thoughts into each other's minds. And this is all government sanctioned studies. So I mean, it's probably out there, I'd say for sure. But whether or not mainstream media news would recognize it as something as fact or not, you know what I'm saying, is neither here nor there. But I mean, they don't be talking much about the truth recently. But that's sorry, another topic.
Yeah,
Um,
mainstream news is pretty much just public relations for the
yeah, 100%.
GOP.
Ever since what was it back in 2012, whenever they passed I forget what exactly act it was, but basically it literally gave the government the permission to propagandize the United States people. And ever since, that's when you started seeing that video going around where it was like 30 different newscasters all saying this exact same sentence at the exact same time in the exact same tone. And you're just kind of like, oh man, we really, like, you just can't trust that anymore, can you?
Yeah, it gets really repetitive once you see what's going on in the different areas for sure.
For sure. And so other than shadow work and EMF protection, what else you got for us?
Well, longevity,
And when you say
everything is
longevity, what do you
mindset.
mean by that?
So everything is your mindset.
Okay.
If it's in your mind of, oh, I'm going to work until I'm 75 and then I have like 10 years to live and I'm dead, and then you come to like this acceptance stage of
Right.
something that you actually don't need to accept.
Right.
It's basically the whole matrix, you're building your own matrix. But when you change your mindset to birthdays are a ritual that doesn't actually have to exist, the calendar is just another thing that
It's supposed
some
to be like a
humans
tool.
made
But yeah.
to
Make
make
sure we
things
go to
look
the
a
same
certain
place on the same
way,
day, you know?
yeah, then you kind of bust out of that whole paradigm and just start living your life every day.
Right.
And when you focus on improving how you treat your body, when you recognize that you're what the choices are that are the wrong choice and that don't align with your higher self.
Right.
Like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be drinking every night. That's one of the shadows that you can look into. Why am I drinking? Why am I relying on this crutch? What is relying on this crutch doing to me? How is it holding me back? What is this doing to my organs? What could I be doing instead that would be a positive for my body and for my life?
Right. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Cause I was literally just about to ask, I was like, so as far as shadow work, like, how would you say somebody was just like, they don't know what their shadow would be, but they're kind of just like, they recognize that they may or may not have one and they want to start addressing that. How would you suggest they first try to like find that inner voice, you know?
I would say figure out what healthier choices you can make and what the unhealthy choices that you've been conditioned to make habitually are.
Okay.
For instance, if you're waking up and the first thing you're doing is like switching on your TV to see the news,
Right.
what's really going on there? Is that your security safety net? You have to have that kind of structure in your life. Maybe you could set up a different kind of structure. Maybe you could start by, instead of just sitting there on the couch watching the news, maybe you could start working out while you watch the news, and then maybe you could work towards listening to a podcast of someone who interests you that's not part of mainstream media,
Right.
and while you work out, and then you can work on listening to a frequency that you feel would benefit you. You're like, I want more self-confidence, so I'm going to put on a certain level of hertz
Right.
that boosts my confidence while I work out. And then you can move to working out outside where you don't have to rely on any kind of outside electronics. So there's a growth process. You don't just want to do it all at once, like go from sitting on the couch watching TV to working out outside.
Right.
There's
Cause
like
I feel
good
like it won't
steps and
stick. Right.
process.
For
Every
sure.
step serves you. You're going to end up having, when you make a change, your brain is going to open up. You're going to have more thoughts, more enlightenment, and it's really an enjoyable experience to make positive health decisions. It's just really nice. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like me personally, like I've done a little bit of shadow work because I had some trauma we won't go into that I had to work through, right? And so what really helped me at first was just kind of like I noticed that I had a lot of like patterns in myself where like I would almost like mood swings kind of deal, but like I would just get into an upset mind state easily, and so I kind of had to like sit down with myself and just kind of be like I meditate. I have a pretty decent meditative practice. I try to meditate at least once a day. I normally do it for about 30, 45 minutes before I go to bed. And I just kind of like sat there with myself and was just kind of sitting there, just like observing my own thoughts. And whenever one that was negative would pop up, I would just kind of like freeze for a second and like be like, all right, what's up with that? You know what I'm saying? So like if I'm thinking like, oh man, well I'm not I'll never be able to do this or something like that. And then you just kind of sit there and you like ask yourself literally just like, why? Why not? And you're like, well, and then you find whatever answer you give. Normally, the first couple are going to be just kind of like knee jerk, like, I don't want to think about it responses. You know what I'm saying? But then after a minute, you'll start to get down to like what the real root cause belief that you have that is keeping you from being able to like become this better version of yourself. Right. Does that sound good?
Yeah, definitely. Beliefs is where it's at. I really believe in working towards a limitless mindset. And you can also work backwards. You're like, if I had no limitations, where do I want to be in 5 years? And first you gotta be like, oh, I have this goal because I have this limit. So maybe I can have a different goal. And so you work with yourself and then you work backwards. You say, what steps do I need to follow to get there?
Right. It's almost
And
like kind of like a
so
vision board type deal, but or like maybe not a vision board, but like goal setting is something that we talk about, especially in like self-improvement or entrepreneurial space. You know what I'm saying? Is
yeah, you could do it however you want. You could even make a painting of like the landscape that you'd be standing at when, you're drinking your morning drink, whether
right.
it be juice or coffee or
Right.
tea,
I'm a coffee
water.
person 100% here.
Nice clean filtered water, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Not
Because
straight
there's
from the
there's
tap.
atrazine in the water, which is changing frogs from male to female.
Right. And turn the
Just a
freaking
little tip
frogs
there.
gay.
Yeah, yeah. So
I mean, I've heard that whole thing, yeah, for sure. And that the what blew my mind is like literally everybody trolled the shit out of Alex Jones for so long because of that. You know what I'm saying? And then like a study came out like a year or so ago. That shit was 100% true. And I was like, man, like we really made this man into an internet meme, and he was right. That's crazy to me. As far as I heard you mention scalar tech, which I don't want to dive too much into that because I know we are going to be and talking about that in much more detail on a future episode. Just keep in touch for that one.
yeah. Mhm.
But so what is scalar tech? I guess like a broad overview, if you could give it.
Yeah, so basically there's frequencies, they're of a certain level of hertz, and
Right. And when
each
you talk about those, you mean like the solfeggio frequencies or whatever it is. Each one of the ones is supposed
yeah,
to carry a different emotion
or
with it.
rife. I really like rife frequencies. You
Okay.
can you can target any certain ailment with specific frequency. There's apps, and you basically plug like a little monsoon coil with a crystal into your phone, and it outputs that and amplifies it into your area.
Okay.
And it can like help the flu, or even help fast growing cells not be existing anymore. um
So you mean
so
like cancer type deal?
I mean, if you want to say the C word.
Well, I just you said fast growing cells and that kind of slipped by a second. I was like, wait a minute, that means they're not supposed to grow fast, right? Sorry, I just
No, no, you're not supposed to be clumpy and lumpy.
right. Yeah, and so like if somebody wanted to utilize these frequencies or something like that, what tools would you suggest? Would it be like a tone generator of some sort, or I know you said there's apps for it. Would the speaker on your phone be enough to put out the frequency, or would you have to
It's
get something a little
actually
bit more
not the speaker on
specialized?
your phone. You can use the speaker on your phone, but you can plug it into a monsoon coil crystal.
Okay, and like it
Yes, you
actually
can
has
plug a
like
crystal into your phone, right?
okay, I was like it literally has a plug on it, like type deal.
It totally does. Yeah,
That's pretty
little
wicked.
headphone jack. Mhm.
That's fire.
Yeah, I love it. I Ever since I found that, I smile more. If
Right,
Because when you get to really high levels of shadow work, there's deeper and darker shadows,
right,
and sometimes you're just like, no, I need to be feeling like this, and it's good to have a tool.
for
And
sure.
then yeah, and everyone has their crutch. And the point is that you use what you can for a while and learn to become more self-reliant.
Awesome. So I heard you touch on gardening practices as one of our ways that we can kind of take our power back. Do you have any tips or tricks to share on that? Or?
Yeah. So, firstly, when you buy food from the store, even the fresh food that you're buying, even if it's organic, it's still picked before it's even ripe.
Right.
And then it sits around for a really long time and then you eat it. So, it's gotten to the point where the frozen food is even more nutritious because they flash freeze it
Mm,
at the point of ripeness. They actually pick it when it's ripe. So, we're in a day and age where the fresh food that you're buying is like half as nutritious as the frozen food. And then even the frozen food, because it's not grown with the proper microbes and minerals in the soil, is not nearly as good as the food that you grow in your house. Not to mention the fact that you put all your good vibes into your food. Like, let's remember, we are a frequency generator.
right.
We have actual volts that we put out, and we're putting out our own scalar frequencies.
Right.
So when you're growing your own food and you're saying, man, I really want this new car, or man, I really want there to be peace in the world or peace in my community. I want my community to work well together and to get to know each other. And you're putting that into what you're eating, and
Mm.
then you're sharing your food with your community. So you're putting the action into that too. It's really a magical experience. It's really great. There's just endless benefits from eating your own food that you're growing.
Right, yeah, 100%. I think we've even brought this up like once or twice on the podcast itself is just like the way that we have been growing our food is like you were talking about with it being picked too early, and even just down to the way that we care for our soil as far as like industrial agriculture goes and stuff like that. We're literally taking all of the good nutrients and all the goodness essentially of that would be going into our plants and just straight removing it from the cycle. And so it's almost like we're eating food, yes, but you have to eat like 5, 6, 7, 8 times as much of that food to get the same nutritional benefit of something if you grew it yourself, right? And then so the adverse of that is you're still getting all of the extra chemical waste and all of the extra additives and stuff like that of the 8 times worth of food just to get that same nutritional value. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's why we have such a problem with malnourishment and even obesity in this country, right?
And also the crops can take care of each other. You can rotate them in such a way that they're actually providing what the next crop needs.
Right.
But when you get into these large farms that are just growing the same thing over and over again and it's depleting the same things from the soil. And I look forward to a future where rotating crops on the big scale is what's going on.
Right. And I think there's kind of
And
been a push for
yeah,
that because I mean I've heard especially through like social media and just the court of public opinion that your average person is not happy with the way that we're making our food, is not happy with the way that we're doing things. You know what I'm saying? Because like it kind of raises the question like why if because like we still have starving people in the world, right? You know what I'm saying? There's still people who don't have food, who don't know when their next meal is coming from, and yet we have these massive industrial farms and stuff like that which are using all of this modern technology and growing food on such a scale that we should be able to feed everybody. And so if we made all of these advancements technologically, right, to be able to produce food at this magnitude, then why is it not being utilized in order to fix the problems that we have, right? Why are we essentially just growing it to throw half of it away, you know?
yeah, and when you eat food that has more vitamins and minerals in it, you don't have to eat as much food, and that's your body, not having to do as much work,
Right. And also making your doctor not have to do as much work because you will
right?
actually have a fully balanced nutrition system and hopefully won't have to
Yeah,
go see
which
him
I
as
wish
often.
the doctors were more versed on nutrition.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
That'd be nice. That's why I choose a naturopath.
100%. And that's why we're here
They're
with the
more
solar
versed.
bears, helping everybody else make a natural path. Awesome. But, so we got shadow work, we got gardening, we got electromagnetic frequencies. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, one thing that's really helped me in my life and kind of give myself more of an inner understanding has been astrology. And I'm not just talking about your sun sign.
Right. And I'm just
Um,
like, oh, I'm an Aries. I'm an Aquarius, by the
yeah, it's kind of like
way.
the deeper you dive into your astrology and all your planets, you're like, oh, that's why I'm like that. That's why I need to work on these things. That's why I have these strengths.
Right.
Now, I wouldn't say use it as be like, "Oh, I'm this way because this is my sign." That's not what I'm
All
saying.
right. That's an
It's
excuse.
more like I'm more prone to being like this, and I consciously want to be more like this. So I'm going to take the fact that I'm thrown into this darkness in this category, and I'm going to transmute it into light.
Right. Yeah, and I've always said that like I don't think astrology is necessarily meant to like be taken as like scripture, if you will. Just because like there's like 8 billion people on the planet, there's bound to be another one that was born in the same place and time as you, you know? And so but I do feel like it can give some really really good insight that because like your average person like we're not conditioned as we grow up to be introspective, you know what I'm saying? We're kind of conditioned as we grow to be reactive to the world around us and not necessarily delve too deeply into why we are the way that we are or why we think the way that we think. You know what I'm saying? We're more just like it is what it is, you know? And so I feel like using tools like astrology and even what was it? Is the human design or something like that that Scott brought up in I think like the second episode of our podcast, where it's like it kind of helps you get started with the shadow work, you know what I'm saying? Because it'll show you the different roots of why you might react a certain way to something. And you can apply that information to your meditative practice or to your shadow work in order to probe deeper into that and kind of like really uncover who you are and why you are the way that you are, you know?
Yeah, and when you learn more about yourself, the outside world becomes clearer to you because, when you really get down to it, the outside world is yourself being amplified back to you.
Right.
Um,
Right. We're all a piece of the same consciousness type deal.
and so you'll notice like when you improve something about yourself, that maybe something on the outside will improve as well.
Do that shadow work, people, the world will get better.
It's true. It starts with every person. It radiates from within. I think about a lot of people who they don't really think about what they're putting into their body. They don't think about, oh, I'm cleaning my bathroom, but when I go to take a shower right after I do this, I'm going to be breathing in these synthetic chemicals that are clogging up my endocrine system. Most people don't think twice about that.
All right.
they, they just want a clean house, right?
Right.
But what's provided to them on the mass scale is literally poisoning them.
Right.
So one reason that I've been able to open up my eyes to things like synthetic pesticides so much is that I actually have sensitivities. So being a Cancer Sun and a Cancer Mercury, I am super duper sensitive to this type of stuff because if you actually look, your sun sign determines what's weak in your body. And so for me, my weak point is my lymph system. So it's
Okay.
harder for me to get toxins out of my body. Um, and so that I'm gonna admit my weakness right now. It's hard for my body to expel toxins. So what do? I make sure that I'm doing things like lymph drainage. I'm making sure that I'm not having synthetic things in my body as much as I can.
Right.
You got to do when you find your weakness, you're not just going to be like, "Oh, I'm weak in that department." Like, no, make
Right.
it your
Yeah. You
strength.
want to try and make 100%.
Yeah.
And so what is a lymph what did you say? Lymph flush?
Lymph drainage. Yeah,
Drainage.
you can do certain like body massages and tapping in certain areas
Okay.
to be able to drain your lymph system more easily.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Also, like I have like a mini trampoline that I like to jump up and down on.
Nice,
And that
yeah.
that really helps. It
Or
really
literally
helps.
like shake it out kind of deal.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
cool.
Like, yeah, it really gets rid of the stagnancy for sure.
Heck yeah. Yeah, see, because like I've been looking into different. This is just like on the topic of like detoxing. I've been looking into. There's a product called zeolite, right? Which is it's a way to detox off of heavy metals, right? And so we have heavy metals in our sewage system and tap water and basically everything we eat or do. If you use nonstick pans, then you have heavy metals in your system from that as well, and more forever particles and stuff like that. And what zeolite does is it's a molecule that has a like crystalline structure to it. So its molecular structure is strong enough to actually get the heavy metals, and like it's literally like trained basically to like go through your system, grab up heavy metals and then exit your system with them, right? And so this product has been found to reduce like symptoms of things like autism or memory disorders, different stuff like that, and just improve overall cognitive function. There have been kids, because like, and this is very taboo topic, do your own research, have your own opinion. Um, that there's a heavy amount of heavy metals that come with a lot of the beans that we have on our schedule right now. And there have been many, 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 I'm talking hundreds, if not thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of cases of like people bringing in their kids to get these immunizations, right? And then like perfectly fine, healthy kid, right? They get their schedule immunizations. All of a sudden they stop being responsive and start showing signs of like severe autism and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of people who think that there might be some type of correlation there between heavy metal poisoning and autism. And this zeolite product has actually been used and shown in kids to like completely reverse that shit. Like they'll go from being a non-verbal, non-responsive, won't make eye contact with you type shit, to back to being a fully functioning kid. And so that's been something that I've been looking into recently, especially just because like I'm not like autistic or anything like that, but my memory definitely isn't as good as it used to be. I definitely am much more prone to having anxiety than I used to be, because like I used to be a cocky fuckboy back in high school, bro. And now like you put me in a room of a bunch of people I don't know, and I'm the most uncomfortable person on planet Earth, you know? And so I've been wanting to try and like maybe detox my system from some of those. And so I've been looking into getting that zeolite. It's a really good product if you ever want to do some research on it.
Yeah, and I'm like nowhere near perfect. I never claim to be. I just have a goal of like always improving. It's just a
Right.
simple goal. But like I'm still getting used to not relying on cannabis.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I definitely, that's a big crutch for me as well, because it helps me deal even with like my eating habits, because like I'm very ADHD, and so if I get hyper fixated on doing something, then like I'm not gonna eat for like 6 hours, you know what I'm saying? But if I smoke a little bit of cannabis, you know what I'm saying, about an hour and a half after that, the munchies are gonna kick in and I will eat.
And yeah, I wanted to mention that that's not the only thing that introduces heavy metals. Baby foods are
I mean, heck,
chock
this probably
full
does
of
too.
heavy metals.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
actually had heard that. There's literally like I follow this guy on TikTok. His name is Cancel This Clothing Company. Really, really great researcher, makes really, really awesome content, and will show you everything on your grocery store aisle that's owned by a megacorp that probably doesn't have your best
I watch
interest.
him too.
He's freaking awesome, dude. He's a really good guy. And so he was talking about all the different shit that's in baby food, man. And it is a nightmare, bro. Like you're supposed to be feeding children this stuff, and it's literally got enough like there are baby food brands that are sold here in the US that are literally illegal to sell in other countries because they're considered toxic substances. And this is what we feed our children, bro. Like that is
Yeah, it's really best
maddening.
to, in the best case scenario, if you're thinking about starting a family, my suggestion would be first have the goal of growing your own food and being able to preserve that food. And, like for instance, instead of getting heavy metal pesticided food for your child from the store, even though it's easy to just open up a jar, the good feelings that you get from your whole life contributing to your own and the world's wellness, like it's just another level of quality,
Right.
you know? And I think that people get used to low quality. They're eating low quality foods
Mhm.
and they're just like, this is just how it is. Well, no, like I want to say you deserve luxury.
All right. We're
You
all
deserve
abundant beings.
luxury, and never take it for granted either.
For sure.
But yeah, so when you have a goal of growing your own food and giving that to yourself and your children, it's really not hard. You can do a lot of your own jarring at the same time. You can make your own jarred baby food so you don't have to like steam a sweet potato and mash it up every
Right.
time that you want to give it to your child. You can
Right.
do like a month's worth in a few hours.
Right.
And
Jar
it
it up
was
and be good to
instead of
go.
you going to the store and risking getting sick by going to the store, for instance. I know a lot of people are sick this time of year.
Yeah, for sure.
um and so, and you kind of realize it's like, oh, I have that much less chance of getting sick because I have more vitamins and minerals in my body, so my immune system is better, and also I'm not having to go out and get exposed as
Right.
much. So it's a win-win for sure.
For sure. Well, I think that's probably a decent stopping point for right now. Thank you very, very much for coming on, Alki. I know I enjoyed it. I hope our viewers did as well. And as always, if you guys are ready to go ahead and take the first step on your green journey, feel free to visit www.thesolarbearsagency.com. I'm sure we'll make that pop up on the screen somewhere. But and we would be more than happy to talk with you about it, making your first step. Other than that, we hope you guys have an amazing week, and we will see you next time. Bye.